Earth Air has partnered with United Nations Refugee Agency, Made 51, as you mentioned a little earlier. That's an initiative to support displaced refugee artisans in Malaysia. So, how do you build trust, protect dignity, and ensure fair opportunities while also navigating real world constraints that refugees do face?
So we actually started working with refugees in like 2016. I mean, I just started working with like a refugee that like my pastor in church introduced me to. And he was like, "Hey, she's a Sri Lankan refugee. She doesn't have any work. Is there anything you can do?" So, I found out that she could sew. So I was giving her like some products that she could start stitching for us. And that's kind of how it is essentially started. 2017 was when UNHCR, Heidi Kreis, who is the Made 51 lead, from Geneva. So Heidi was in Malaysia and she came to visit us and she said, "Hey, we've heard about the work that you're doing with refugees. Would you be interested in joining Made 51 to create products for Made 51?" That's when we started sort of like working with more refugees. Like, because at that point we had only been working with like, maybe 3 or 4 refugees. But when we started working with Made 51, we started working with a much larger group of refugees, and we also worked with refugees from a lot of different communities. So Malaysia has, I think, more than 200,000 refugees, and they come from many different countries: Myanmar, Sri Lanka, Afghanistan, Pakistan, different parts of Africa, like South Sudan, Sudan. So it was kind of difficult to think about how can we create a product that unifies or like all of them can work on. So it took us like about almost 1 to 2 years to come up with some products. And that's when we landed on our made jewelry. And so we now have a pretty successful refugee jewelry line that we've been making since 2017. And we work closely with the UN on that. I think in Asia, I mean, in Southeast Asia, we are the only ones in Malaysia working with the UNHCR. And in Thailand, there's Weave, which is another organization that works with
Yes,
me.
Mitos, right?
Yeah, Mitos, yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, so the rest of the organizations are all based in South Asia, like in India, Pakistan, Southeast Asia, where the only two from this part of the world. It has not been easy. Like, for example, like during COVID, there was a lot of xenophobia. Um, Maybe a little bit like what's happening in the US right now, where people were like just so like against migrants and immigrants, and like Malaysians were like, "Oh, we should kick all these migrants out because they're bringing COVID to us and blah, blah, blah. And, we should remove all of them and kick them out of our country." And that's when like we started working with refugees to make like life-saving um, personal protective equipment like PPE during COVID. And the refugee made PPE was being given to like clinicians and hospitals and clinics, all the first aiders at the front lines. And I made sure that we got media coverage
Yeah.
and for that. And I remember reading the comments, and it was like, finally, I read some positive comments about like refugees. I wanted Malaysians to understand that, they're not here because like, they want to come and fleece off of us. They just happened to come from situations that were bad and they needed a better place to live. And given the opportunity, they want to contribute and help and build dignified lives. And that, like, refugees in Malaysia are not here to like, oh, we just want free money, or like, we just want to use up Malaysia's resources and take jobs away from Malaysians or use up our welfare money or whatever. Like, Malaysia doesn't even recognize them because Malaysia is not signed on to the 1951 Refugee Convention. So refugees have no legal rights in Malaysia, right? So, but they're here and they need to live. So they do need to earn money and work. Um, so, that's kind of what we've been trying to do as well, is trying to help people understand that just because they're refugees, they're human. They're human like us, and they're willing to work and they want to contribute and they want to do good. Of course, there are people that are not, there are people who come in and maybe try to take advantage of things or whatever, right? But I think like majority of the refugees that are here in Malaysia are people that just want to work hard and they just want to give their families a better life.
Sure. Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much, Saucy. That's very much so still happening here, unfortunately. And I think that that's important to hear, though, for people here in the US too, is like so great that you're providing opportunities for literally the people that are just trying to make a living and escape a place that is dangerous or just a place that doesn't sustain their needs anymore. And so that's fantastic that you're providing those opportunities for them. Saucy, one more question. If people want to get involved with Earth Air and purchase products online, or just if a company is watching and they want to be a part of the 1% initiative, how can they do that? What's the best way to shop the Earth Air or get involved with it?
People can shop online, and we ship globally. So that's a way. And then, of course, in terms of like partnerships, I mean, if there are any companies or retailers or distributors that would like to stock social impact products from Malaysia, we'd be happy to explore that with them. And also, like, we've actually also had like quite a number of volunteers or interns that come. Once we had a volunteer from the US. She was like a visual merchandiser. She used to work with some big retail brands in the US. And she came and like she did such an amazing job, like
Wow.
just helping us like display our products in a really nice way in our shop, which was really nice. I mean, so I was amazed and I thought, wow, what a difference it makes when you have
Yeah.
someone with the right skills uh,
Yes.
come and like present the products, and then she did such a wonderful job. We have student interns and we have like volunteers, like people who are just like traveling and they're like, hey, I'll come and work with you for like a week or two and, and
Wow.
then keep on traveling somewhere else and stuff. Yeah. So, um, yeah. So there's loads of ways to contribute. And of course, even locally in the US, I'm sure there are so many organizations that are doing good, right? So I always encourage people to like, you don't have to come across the world to feel like, like you're doing something good. You can actually do something good right where you are in your own backyard and wherever people are. I'm sure there are communities locally that are actually needing a lot of help.